Bismillah, my name is Abla Hasan. I'm an associate professor of practice of Arabic language and culture at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And this is, I guess, my latest book, The Qur'anic Dilemma, a hermeneutical investigation of al-Khidr. I always get inspiration to write books from others' questions. Like my two other books, it comes as a response to a question. This time the question comes from my husband, who asked me, I remember one Friday afternoon, while he was reading chapter 18, the story of al-Khidr, about the story. And the story is well known by all Muslims, as there is a recommendation in the tradition to go over the story, to go over the chapter 18, or read it at least once every Friday. In this chapter, we read about an encounter between Prophet Moses and a mysterious figure, al-Khidr, known in the tradition as al-Khidr because he's not known in the Quran. He's not named, I would say, in the Quran as al-Khidr. Now, during their journey together, al-Khidr will commit some unexplainable acts that will end with the killing of a young boy. In the tradition, as I was going over so many books of tafsir on chapter 18 and on this specific story, I noticed that exegetes did a great job addressing almost all moral aspects in the story. Some of them stressed, for example, the need to be humble while trying to learn from someone, the need to be patient, because Prophet Moses humbled himself to al-Khidr while he was a mighty prophet himself to do that. However, that missing piece of the killing of the young boy that al-Khidr said about, provided a very tears answer. He said, I killed him because he's going to grow up to become an infidel. Now, many exegetes only repeated that answer, right? Which is very problematic when it comes to comparing it to the strong peace-promoting message in the Quran. So to deal with this, and therefore I call it a dilemma, I call it a Quranic dilemma. And to explain why is it a dilemma, I go in the book over answering first some other questions, right? Like, who are the Muslims according to the Quran? Who are the infidels according to the Quran? Who are the hypocrites? Who are the people of the book? What makes someone an infidel? And do infidels really lose their right to life because of their faith? What about the Quranic endorsement of the right and the freedom of belief, right? So there is a contradiction there. My methodology in the book is tafsir al-Quran bil-Quran, using the Quran to interpret the Quran. And I use it to try to reinvestigate the real, the forgotten and the real humanitarian message of the Quran. Long story short, I'm going to keep it short. I use the Quran as a key to understand the story, and I use another Quranic story as a key to do that. This time is the Quranic story of Prophet Ibrahim and his sacrificial son. And by the way, I follow here the Quranic guidance into thinking, let's say, of the identity of the sacrificial son as Isaac and not Ishmael. And I know this sounds a little bit weird to us now, because mainstream Islam went with one answer, mainstream answer, which is Ishmael as the sacrificial son. Although the Quran probably, and I provide an analysis there to back up this assumption, but it started as a debated question even within the Islamic tradition. Only later on Muslims went with, for political, I would say, reasons maybe, and for setting Islam apart from Judaism and Christianity, they went with Ishmael and not Isaac as the sacrificial son. So anyway, I use this story as a key to understand the act of al-Khidr when he attempted and he actually killed the young boy, right? Now, we don't ask in the story of Ibrahim and his son, what did Isaac do to deserve the sentence? We don't ask that question. But all exegetes addressed the question of killing the young boy as if he deserved to be killed because of his predicted infidelity. People, according to the Quran, don't lose their right to life because of their predicted infidelity or because of their actual infidelity. The Quran says there is no compulsion in religion, la ikraha fi din, and it's clear in the Quran, right? So in both cases, I argue that it was a unique one-time order, and it was given via revelation to a prophet. So a prophet, as a way of testing Ibrahim, gave him the order to slaughter his son. And Isaac didn't do anything, or if you want to go with Ishmael or whoever the son was, he didn't do anything to deserve that statement. But God, who creates life and who owns life, he has the right to take off anyone's life anytime because he's the provider of life in the first place. The same applies to Al-Khidr's story. So God, via revelation, revealed to Al-Khidr, who is a prophet as well, that that boy, the decision to end that boy's life at that moment, not because of his future infidelity. The future infidelity was mentioned as a window to understanding the rationale, divine rationale, or let's say it was a window of what was God thinking at that time when he thought of ending the kid's life at that time. So in other words, it's not a justification for ordinary human being to end someone's life based on their faith or their lack of faith. It's an order, a divine order, to end someone's life, which is revealed via revelation and not to be duplicated, right? And I know Al-Khidr and Ibrahim can be role models in all aspects, but definitely not in this aspect. No parent has the right to slaughter their kids because they had visions of any kind. The same way, Al-Khidr had that right only because it was given to him as a divine order. God decided at some point that he's going to end the kid's life because it was some kind of natural death, I would say. God decided that at that point he's going to end his life because he's going to end up to become an infidel and give his parents hardship. But it wasn't something given as a right to another human being. I'm going to end with stressing the need to add to the list of prophets Al-Khidr. I see in many books on stories of prophets, they miss adding Al-Khidr as a prophet, but this is the only way to solve the dilemma, because otherwise we can't say that what he received was via revelation. So I highly stress that he needs to be identified as a prophet Al-Khidr and not as just the mysterious figure Al-Khidr.